Welcome back to Profits on Purpose, which is the podcast for ecom and CPG founders who are looking to scale their businesses both profitably and purposefully. I'm your host, Nate Littlewood from Future Ready CFO, which is the go-to fractional CFO solution for seven-figure founders who are looking to turn financial chaos and confusion into business clarity and confidence. So today's guest is Mehmet Can Ilker, who's the co-founder of Ethnik Living, which is an LA-based home decor brand that started with less than $1,000 during the pandemic and is now approaching 8 figures in revenue, entirely bootstrapped. What makes Mehmet's story remarkable isn't just growth, it's about how he actually built this. He launched a US-focused e-commerce business from Turkey without ever setting foot in the US. He went 3.5 years without taking a salary, reinvesting every dollar back into inventory and growth. And when Trump's tariffs threatened to devastate his margins, he made a gutsy call that probably saved his business. His pieces now grace the interiors of Four Seasons hotels, Chanel flagship stores, and have been featured in Vogue and Architectural Digest, all while maintaining profitability from day one. Mehmet, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Well, listen, I'd love to get started with talking a little bit about the backstory here and how you began. From what I understand, you began this business when you were an engineering student in Turkey with essentially, $50 in your pocket. Could you walk us through that first year and what was the moment that you realized that this could actually become something real and more than just a
Sure.
side hustle?
Yeah. So I started this with not very high hopes of earning lots of money at the time, but I was a student. I was trying to make money online. When the pandemic hit, it seemed like the right time to get invested in things, especially since the university was closed and we had time to focus on other things besides studies. And as an engineering student, I wanted to use some of my skills, which are like knowing computer-aided design and how to move things and how to get manufacturers to talk to you and how to talk to manufacturers and everything. So I thought it would be best to get into home accessories and furniture kind of business rather than a textile or fabric based business. Because A, returns were easier and there were less sizes of the items. So we were basically hoping for having less returns. That's how we decided on getting into furniture. And we just launched a few items and it started taking off. And then I realized, okay, actually, I can, if I invest myself into this, if I build a brand around this, I can then maybe like make a living out of this actually. So not just a side hustle, but make it my whole life. And that's when I decided to turn it into my whole life actually, and went full in without any distractions anymore. At that time when I started this, I was also doing an internship somewhere at the summer of it, by the way. Yeah, I was doing an internship somewhere as well. I was thinking of maybe going there full time after the uni. But then
Okay.
everything just flipped, and I just said, okay, I'm going full in on ecom. I'm going full in on this brand that I have to scale it
Yeah.
as much as possible. Yeah,
Amazing. So I'm curious, was there a specific moment in that journey when you went from it being kind of a hobby side hustle to actually recognizing that this could be something, legitimate and enduring? Was it, revenue, profitability, cash flow? Like
yeah,
what were you kind of looking at to make that decision?
yeah. There was a very specific moment actually. I was talking to one of my friends at this internship, and I told him that with the money I was making from this job, this online business, I
Hmm.
could pay for the university myself without
Wow.
having any support from anyone else. And he
Yeah.
said, "Wow, so you make approximately this much in a year." But he misunderstood that I was actually talking with what I'm earning in 1 month. I could pay the university. So then I
Oh,
realized,
wow.
okay, that means I'm actually making like lots of money. Like he
Uh-huh.
didn't even understand the scale of the thing that I'm talking about here.
Right,
And that
right.
moment was like, wow, okay, so this is actually like quite some money then for a business. And like it's actually like I can actually go full in. And there's another thing that I opened a Twitter account and I started getting into this like e-commerce Twitter
Hmm.
uh, niche kind of like communities and groups. And I saw the
Yeah.
people's revenues there, and it was driving me insane. Like all the people, all these famous influencers like David Fogarty. I'm not talking about those people. Even just like random people with 300 followers, with doing like I don't know 50 million a year sometimes with their brands
Mm.
that have started
Mm-hmm.
like 5 years ago maybe. But
Mm-hmm.
so that's shown me that everything is like literally everything is possible to accomplish if you set your mind to
Mm.
it. And, especially with ecom, there's no upper limit to the revenue we can make or the profits we can make, or
Mm.
like these endless opportunities really were like some of the nuances that I found in ecom and in my industry that I really enjoyed
Mm.
and that wanted me to do this full time, made me want to do this full time.
Mm. Interesting. Interesting. So it sounds like it was kind of a couple of cases of just benchmarking and
Yeah,
referencing yourself to people around you. Like your friend thought you were
100%.
making X, but really you were making 12 times X.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you saw all of these guys on Twitter making a whole lot of noise and you thought, okay, that's, seems pretty achievable. That's cool.
Yeah.
Good on you. Good on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, one of the hardest parts of bootstrapping businesses like this is often kind of sustaining the grind financially, yourself in terms of paying your rent and your food and that sort of stuff. I understand that you went about 3.5 years before taking any money out of the business, and during that period, you were just reinvesting everything back into inventory and growth and
Yeah.
so forth. That's a pretty high level of discipline. What kept you going during that period? And how did you finally decide that it was time to start taking money out of the business to pay yourself?
Yeah. At first, it was very easy because I was literally not spending any money because I was like living in a small place, and living in Turkey is also very affordable. So just like a
Hmm.
couple $100 a month was enough for a very long time at least. And I was actually still a student as well. So that meant like not a lot of traveling, not a lot of
Mm.
expenses, no, not a lot of shopping and things like that. So when your expenses are very low and there's literally nothing to lose, you can go
Hmm.
all in and save as much as possible. And that
Mm.
actually gave us a snowball effect in some sense. We started manufacturing here in Turkey first. We were working with manufacturers. We will sell an item, get it manufactured, and ship it. And
Hmm.
that allowed me to build a cash flow. Like that allowed me to scale the business a little bit because I didn't have to tie my money up into inventory at the beginning. But then, when things started scaling, manufacturers had a lot of problems with quality, and shipping prices were very high as well. We started seeking, basically asking the question, okay, how do other people do this? And when we
Hmm.
found out that others were doing this by just sourcing from these suppliers, that supplier, using like international shipping, freight shipping with the containers, then we decided to switch on that, and we needed extra money there. But it was because we were very smart from the beginning, and we literally like didn't spend any money that we didn't have to. It was relatively easy to switch to this because we were
Hmm.
already saving up,
Yeah.
and we started tying some money to inventory, then started growing it a little bit. That period was very difficult because every month the numerical value of the inventory we had, the physical value of it, had to grow because the revenues were growing, and for every growth, you have to purchase the item like maybe 3, 4, 6 months ago.
Sure.
And as we were experiencing some growth as well, and we were projecting more, we had to tie up a lot of the money to inventory. So
Hmm.
that period, we still didn't take any loans or anything, but was very difficult to manage in terms of cash. And I remember having some dermatological problems on my hands because of all the
Oh
stress
yeah.
of
Oh
yeah, trying
wow.
to manage that cash. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
But I
So
mean,
what?
we survived it at the end of the day. So yeah,
Clearly, but I'd love to learn a little bit more about some of the tools and models that you may have been utilizing during that period. You mentioned, the very common paradox for fast-growing brands, which is that as the revenue
exactly.
is growing, the cost of goods sold has to grow, and so the
Yeah,
inventory that you need to be sitting on can grow quite quickly. And it is
yeah,
possible to get into situations where the cash needed to put into inventory can exceed the profits that the business is actually generating. So,
yeah.
were there any specific tools or models or frameworks that you used to manage cash flow during that period?
Well, we negotiated some payment terms with our suppliers. That's one of the things that were
Okay.
helpful,
Yep.
and also with our freight forwarders as well. So those two
Okay.
really helped to begin with.
Yep.
But
Hmm.
then one of the things we did was actually, if I sum it up, everything really comes down to negotiating with your suppliers, in my opinion. I mean, to find some suppliers, there are some tools you can use online, even like all these Amazon sellers or dropshippers, they all use them. But
Mm.
at the end of the day, things come to personal relationships with your suppliers. If you can show them that you're actually growing, if they have high hopes, and
Mm.
if you can become like not the maybe most important customer, but like an important customer, like a reliable customer for them. If you make your payments on time, if you
Hmm.
constantly introduce new items, if your purchase order numerical values are increasing or growing every month, then
Hmm.
okay, they see a feature in you as well. So it's kind of like a
Mm.
mutually beneficial relationship for both of you.
Hmm.
And with this like promises that they get from you, they can then negotiate with their suppliers as well. So if they don't
Right.
have all the burden themselves, that's one of the things. That's nearly all the things that we've done with our suppliers to just grow, keep on growing,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
That's such an interesting point you just made about the promises you make to your suppliers and giving them visibility. It can actually help them with their suppliers, in other words,
Yeah.
going,
Exactly.
back further up the supply chain. And I assume, if they can get payment terms from their raw material suppliers, then they're more likely to be willing to give you payment terms for the finished products that you're buying.
Yeah,
That's
100%. Because if they get 60
yeah.
days and they give us 30 days, they still have an advantage, and they can even
Yep.
use the future numbers to negotiate the prices down with some of
Hmm.
their suppliers. That's one of the things that we did when the pandemic when sorry, not the pandemic, when these new tariffs were introduced,
Mm.
offering guarantees to some of the suppliers about quantities and helping
Hmm.
them reduce the basically prices they get from their suppliers to reduce our
Mm.
overall costs to balance the tariff effect, basically.
Interesting, interesting. So you have been based in Turkey for most of this period, and you
Yes.
mentioned earlier that a lot of your suppliers were also from Turkey. How important do you see that as being to managing these relationships and being able to negotiate the terms that you did?
Oh yeah, right now these all these negotiations and everything that I've talked about has never happened in Turkey. Everything happened after we moved everything to overseas to China, Indonesia, Vietnam, and like these India and other countries. So
Okay.
I think being close to your manufacturers somewhat help, but being not too close also helps as well with maintaining professional relationships with them.
Hmm.
So every now and then, of course, you have to visit the factories to see what's actually going on the floor. I mean, we have inspectors that we send after every purchase order, after every batch of manufacturing, just to check the qualities and everything. But still, going there in person changes things I see, from the way I see it
Hmm.
at least. So it comes down to the personal relationships you can have with them, in my opinion. And you have to, like, both personally as a business, you have to be someone who they can rely on as well,
Hmm.
because you're also
Yeah.
relying on them. And if you think about it, like business is just people relying on each other. You paying FedEx, you're relying on them that they're actually going to deliver the item. Customer
Hmm.
paying you, relying that you're actually going to ship it out and it's going to be actually like what it looked like online and things like that.
Mm.
So yeah,
Interesting. Yeah. It's an interesting way to put it. Just a sequence of people relying on each other, but
yeah,
very accurate, I
exactly.
guess. Yeah. Well, on that topic of relying on people, the other day when we chatted, I think you mentioned that you guys had never taken on a loan before. And I'm not sure if this is accurate, but I think maybe I picked up on a little bit of a fear or reluctance to use debt products. Can you talk to me about that, your relationship with debt and how external financing has or hasn't played a role in this business?
Yeah, we've only used one very small loan, and that is this year. It was started like maybe 3, 4 months ago, and we've only done it to build the reflexes in this company in the accounting department to handle debt basically because we've never had debt before. All
Hmm.
the debt we had was like credit cards, and we literally like max them out almost every week. So we have to just it's like a weekly debt cycle at most, and
Right.
I've always been really afraid of debt. since maybe like I was a child. I don't know. I was raised this way, so I've never wanted to
Hmm.
take any debt. I never wanted to owe any money to anybody,
Hmm.
and that's been one of our principles basically since we started. We always avoided debt. I don't
Hmm.
think this is the smartest thing you can do, to be honest with you, because if you use and scale using debt, it's very smart to do. Why not do it? But
Hmm.
it's I know that it's a very conservative approach, and not everybody wishes to do this. But for
Hmm.
me, it helped me sleep well at the night.
Yeah,
So I'm guessing that's an advantage that was used for this business
absolutely.
as well. Yeah.
I guess you call that an intangible benefit. But
Yeah, 100%.
I'm curious. This sort of early childhood relationship, I guess maybe it might have come from your parents. I mean,
Oh yeah,
did
100%. Yeah,
did
yeah,
your
yeah. I
parents
had
kind of
some bad
teach you that?
experiences with like family owing debt to some other businesses and things like that. Basically, yeah. So some
I
personal
see.
experiences there had some effects on me, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's amazing how these childhood experiences can go on to kind of shape and form us
Oh yeah,
as
for
adults
sure.
in so many ways. Interesting. Well, let's talk about tariffs. I recall you
Yeah.
guys made some pretty interesting calls around this. So, a little while back, when you could see that these tariffs were about to hit, you made a pretty big call and pulled a whole lot of cash and bought a very, very significant amount of inventory, from what I understand,
Yeah. Yeah.
before the tariffs were going to apply. So, essentially, taking a forward purchasing type approach to it. Walk us through that decision making process. How did you know that that was the right move to do? And especially coming from a guy who sounds like, you've been raised to be fairly conservative when it comes to managing your finances.
Hmm.
This
Hmm.
feels like a pretty gutsy call to be making,
Yeah.
buying a year's worth of product in advance. How did you rationalize that and talk us through the execution of it?
Sure. So this was I don't exactly remember when we discussed this in house in our company. Well, we knew like basically it was very obvious for us that the Donald Trump was gonna win the elections and there were gonna be increases in the duties from China. And when I went to China in October, this is all everybody was talking about. Every manufacturer I sit down with, in their eyes, I'm American because I represent an American company. So I'm trying to explain to everybody that I'm actually Turkish there as well. It's a funny
Right.
structure. But yeah, so I'm trying to explain basically that I don't have a political view on this because I don't. It's like I don't even get to vote in the US. Anyway,
Hmm.
so we were discussing these possibilities, and everybody was sure that like there was going to be increases in the tariffs basically.
Hmm.
So that and some gut feeling and just I don't know, trying and reading and rationalizing the news, I guess. We were sure that Donald Trump was going to win and there were going to be significant increases in the tariffs. So what we did was we always project our revenues ahead anyway. We knew what
Hmm.
we were going to do in 2025 as well. And it seems like we were very accurate, by the way, so far. And we did okay. These are our bestseller items. So there's this 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your sales come from like 20% of your products, basically.
Right.
And if you focused on the 20% of the products and said, okay, even if we're overstocked on these at the end of the year and we can't hit our goals, like we know we're going to sell them because these are our best sellers anyway.
Hmm.
So what we did was we bought bulk quantities and we used the quantities A to reduce the pricing of the items as well, and we loaded them on ships and just brought everything to the US before the tariffs hit. We only had one, and that's a 20-foot container that wasn't even full, by the way, that was affected by the 130% tariff rates. And
Right.
it's just it's just like one we couldn't reach on time. Everything else was cleared
Got
way
through.
before the tariffs were introduced. Yeah, so yeah, we just accepted the loss there, I guess, since it was only one of them. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's about it. I mean, it was looking like it was a very smart move that made us a couple $100,000 this year, maybe alone. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like it played out for you, but there's a few interesting points in what you just said that I'd love to unpack. The first is about predictability of revenue. And candidly, as a fractional CFO working with a lot of different brands in this space, I see that that's often something that brands struggle with. They
Yeah.
don't always exactly know what is the activity that drives revenue. And therefore, if you don't know how to create the revenue, it can often be difficult to predict it accurately. Could you talk us through how you've managed to get to the point that you are in terms of such predictable revenue numbers? Like, what are the mechanisms or tools or channels you're using to acquire these customers, and how did you get that level of confidence that you needed to have on revenue?
Yeah, sure. So, um, first thing I want to say is I don't think there's any tool out there that can save you. Like, they can just give you the stats you need without you deeply diving into data and understanding it.
Hmm.
I come from an engineering background, and that really helps with analyzing and reading data and doing a lot of
Sure.
Excel and Google Sheets work all the time.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
one of the things that made us accurate was we were not expecting a very, very big revenue increase this year because we said we're going to build the systems and understand how the customer acquisition mechanisms really work in our business to
Hmm.
actually just focus for a very big growth in 2026. We've still
Okay.
grown, by the way, almost close to like 50% this year.
Wow.
And yeah, but the year before that, we more than tripled, I think, if I'm not wrong. So it wasn't a very big like increase for us this year, but still an increase because we've introduced a lot of new items and like focused on customer acquisition and everything. And I know all of our new customer acquisition costs, returning customer ratios, like B2B clients, D2C clients. Like I know all the statistics about them. Really, I knew how much we knew how much we were gonna spend almost every month, just
Mm-hmm.
mapping things with the last year and everything. And it turned out to be very accurate. We track every Monday. We have a finance meeting, weekly finance meeting, that we go
Hmm.
through this coming week's daily revenues and daily basically cash inflows and outflows that we keep since the beginning of this year. That makes it very accurate through the end of the year because you start seeing some patterns, you start understanding things. Okay, my revenue is maybe lower or higher during the weekends. Okay, my Mondays are
Hmm.
the best days and things like that. So then you start to
Hmm.
kind of understand and build these reflexes and you get into this kind of like a flow state kind of thing with your financials. For example, if a sale is ending that day, you're going to see a very high revenue compared to the day that's coming next and things like that. So we built everything into these daily projections and we try to reduce the errors every day through the end of the years to be very accurate. And that really works out well for us, at least so far. It's worked well.
So this Monday finance meeting that you just mentioned sounds really interesting. I haven't heard of a lot of brands doing that sort of thing. How did that come about? And can you tell us any more about the format and what gets discussed and some of the things that you actually look at
Yeah,
in that meeting?
absolutely. So there's an 11-hour difference with Turkey and Los Angeles, and
Hmm.
every Monday on 11:30, basically, it's like half past 30. Sorry, half past midnight in LA,
Hmm.
and the week is officially over. And we take
Right.
we refresh all the screens here, meet in a room, and start discussing about what happened last week in terms of revenue, like new customer acquisition, number of new customers, and like sales of each SKU and everything. Like we have these fixed reports that we just change the timelines and it's there.
Hmm.
And we check our contribution margins and profits basically, and we try to see if everything is alerting anything that we charged like I don't know wrong, anything that was unprofitable. That can be an order that wasn't like that can be an invoice that is more than it should have been. And we plan on the coming week as well. That meeting, how much revenue are we gonna make every day? How much ad spend there's gonna be, and things like important like payment schedules that we have.
Hmm.
We might have an upcoming payment to a supplier or like someone else. We just plan these and starting bank balances, ending bank balances as well. We have these in
Hmm.
different sheets that we track.
Yeah.
So this really helps us literally like track what's gonna go on every day of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how we
Interesting.
get very accurate. Yeah.
I mean, what you just described sounds like you're basically walking through 1 week at a time, a cash flow
Yeah,
model and looking at
yeah,
everything that's
exactly.
coming in, yeah, everything that's coming out for that week. you're kind of living almost in a cash flow model week to week, which is a very
Yeah,
in-depth
100%.
way of doing it. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
heard a lot of the folks going that deep on it. Well, you are based in Turkey, from what
Yeah.
I understand, but you have built a US focused ecom business, and I understand it was, a number of years into this before you actually, visited the US for the first time.
Oh yeah, for
Can
sure.
you can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, what was it like to build a business here from outside of the country and to be serving customers here without having stepped foot in the country before?
Yeah. It was I will say a very interesting experience. I just had this concept on my mind that like it's gonna sound so cringy maybe, but like literally anything is possible. And like if you like
Hmm.
actually believe in it, that is absolutely possible to do. Like not stepping foot in the US and starting a business there. I didn't know even how to invoice someone when I started this business. And we didn't have a CPA. We didn't have ChatGPT back then that I could ask these simple questions
Hmm.
as well.
Hmm.
So it was like very difficult to start with because it was so many foreign concepts. Like, for example, for the US, I'm a non resident alien. And even
Hmm.
understanding what the alien meant in there in English was some sort of a
It's not a
challenge.
very
Right?
flattering term, is it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I was like, am I an alien or something? It was interesting. So yeah, I spent a lot of time doing research on how to set up a business, like which states is the best and things like that. We've dwelled a lot on these, but turns
Hmm.
out we've made a lot of the right decisions at the time. We now have
Hmm.
a very good CPA who's half Turkish, half American,
Hmm.
and those guys, shout out to them from here, are really helping us with everything in terms of
Hmm.
like knowledge. And I have a fair amount of knowledge that I know most of the information that I need to know to handle this business as well now. So
Hmm.
it's now easier, but at the beginning there was a lot of things to learn, and I don't come from
Mm.
any like finance background as well. I did an economics minor in the university as well, but like they don't teach you this stuff over there.
No, no.
So yeah, it was a lot of new things to learn. But I thanks to YouTube and Google and IRS website, I learned a lot of the things quite
I love
fast.
it. I
Yeah.
love it. I'm curious as a engineering mind. I mean, you mentioned before that you're pretty good with numbers and data. I gather that stuff comes pretty easily to you. But as you have kind of grown and evolved as a business owner and needed to learn more about business finances, what have been the most complicated or challenging parts of getting your head around that world?
Well, I guess deeply understanding. I guess I don't still deeply understand our balance sheet, for example,
Hmm. Hmm.
although I understand the income statements.
Hmm.
And maybe I should be better at knowing like capital expenditures and operational expenditures and like these subcategories of everything. I'm not very. I look at the things from a much like outside of a box kind of perspective now, 'cause there's
Hmm.
always somebody else doing the thing that the work like that is actually like on a deep down level. I just get
Hmm.
the summaries or briefs now, and maybe I should be better at those. Yeah,
Better at understanding the balance sheet, you're saying?
maybe yeah, maybe that's like what I will say. I couldn't,
Okay.
for example, track the cash flow myself. There has to be someone that does it, and I just like look at the outcome and see if there's a problem or not. I don't look into like
Right.
specific cell details, but
Hmm.
try to look at the overview. A, because I don't have the time to do it anymore,
Hmm.
and B, it's a very repetitive task after some time
Yeah.
that I really don't
Yeah.
want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you on that. Well, on the topic of building businesses, I uncovered during my research that you guys made an interesting decision around your ERP system. And
Oh
instead
yeah.
of deciding to, do what most founders do and just, buy
Hmm.
one with a monthly subscription, I believe that you went and built your own ERP system called
Yeah, that's
Ethnic
right.
Living Operations Panel.
Yeah.
That's an unusual move. Tell me a little bit more about that and how
Sure.
you concluded that you weren't going to be able to just, do what most people do, which is sign up for a
Yeah.
subscription.
So, we tried a subscription before for inventory. We were really struggling with knowing the actual value of our inventory at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we bought this software that I'm not going to name here. And
Mm-hmm.
after 12 months, it still wasn't set up. It was like the complete worst purchase I've ever made in my business life, like ever.
Okay.
And then I decided, okay, we should be able to build something that is close to this, that the thing that we paid for that was supposed to work for like I don't know, very affordable prices. That was the first module that we tried to build.
Mm-hmm.
And we built something like a module about this. And then, there were SKUs and like quantities and everything. So we said, okay, maybe we can connect our 3PL to this and see the like open order quantities and the quantities of stock we have on hand.
Mm-hmm.
So that if we, by accident, just don't fulfill one of the orders, we see an open order on some item with enough inventory, we'll just look into it and fulfill, for example. And then we started building something like an inventory modular within it. Then we said, okay, maybe with the product names here, we should add more details. And we added a product library into the product as well. So now we store all the product information, like all the manufacturing files, test reports, like the technical drawings and things like that there.
Mm-hmm.
Then we just added layers and layers onto it. And now it's a fully functioning ERP with, it's kind of like a command center now, actually. We have some, because we sell furniture, we don't ship everything with FedEx and UPS. Some of the carriers we have are very small companies with their own systems that you cannot just find on ShipStation or EasyShip or like these softwares. So we had to build anyway a custom integration with them to our warehouses. We gathered everything in one single place now. That is our operations panel. And for example, with just one click, we're able to just generate a label, send it to the warehouse, send it to the shipping company, and like produce that amount from the inventory and change the inventory value on hand. And like all of this with a click, for example, now we're able to do. These are really saving us time and effort and reducing the amount of repetitive tasks. And it's not prone to any errors as well, since it's automated. It's I guess it's really saving us some time as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
That shipping integration sounds interesting. Do you find that you're saving much on freight or shipping rates because of using these smaller carriers?
I mean, for furniture in the US, shipping is always a problem from what I see, because they're bigger items, and most of the time the companies have to call the customers to just like schedule a delivery time. It's always a problem if they just leave it on the, I don't know, entrance and not take it indoors and things like that. So there's a lot of small regional carriers as well that we have to work with. And not every one of them has very modern systems, because they're not IT companies, they're logistics companies. They were probably founded like maybe 20, 30 years ago when these systems were in this spot, when there was even no Shopify. So some of them don't even have a Shopify integration at all. And we had to like just build something manual to just build the labels and attach them to our shipping orders in the 3PL that we have, for example. Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like it might be a bit more about quality of service than it is the
Well, it is both, actually.
incentives?
Yeah, quality of service. So, because some carriers are very fast in some regions because they have a bigger hub close to one of our warehouses, for example. And some of them are just good at servicing one area while the other one is very cheap. Sometimes you'll get a celebrity client or someone who needs something delivered like very fast. Then we'll use someone else for that job because the other's timelines just don't work. Like all these different requirements in the world just made us choose a lot of different suppliers for shipping.
Interesting. Have you ever thought about monetizing this software beyond your own business? Is it something that
we've actually discussed this in-house? Yeah, we've actually discussed this in-house. But since everything is so like uniquely built to us, it's it has to be a furniture company that's going to use this. That's for sure, because of all the things that are built in. And like I don't know, maybe in the future, who knows? It's still maybe has 1/3 of the things that we want it to have. We're still developing a lot of new features, like some flag systems if an order isn't delivered in like the promised days or things like that. But yeah, we'll see how it goes by the end of next year. Hopefully, we're still building a lot of things there.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah,
maybe that'll be
yeah,
your second act as a founder. You'll go on to start
maybe.
a B2B SaaS doing
Yeah,
custom ERP for furniture
yeah,
furniture businesses or something.
for
That'd
sure.
be cool. Well, you have clearly done a very good job of managing the cash flow and finances side of this business, and you've, done some really interesting stuff in terms of building ERPs and so forth. You mentioned the other day that you have emergency plans, I think was the term you used, if things drop below certain levels. I'd
Oh
love
yeah.
to talk a little bit more about some of the things you look for on these dashboards and data sets, and how you've come up with some of these safety levels that you mentioned the other day.
Sure. So one of the safety measures that we have is just very direct, very simple, looking at the cash in the bank. That's it. Like,
Okay.
yeah. That's just like rule number one. There has to be above a certain number, right? Because
Okay.
if you don't have cash in the bank, nothing else matters. No one's gonna sell their services to you, basically.
Right.
So yeah, that's the first thing that we look at, and we've started building this reserve kind of mentality with like different banks, different bank accounts, basically having an in-house something like a reserve that we can take a loan from sometimes. That is kind of like a acting like a small. I don't know how to put this into words, but like kind of like a small bank that we have to pay interest to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now trying to build this to a certain like multiplier of our monthly revenue that's going to
Mm-hmm.
be cash available in the business to use in the emergency kind of situations if something goes very wrong. I don't know what can go very wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
if we have a problem with a very big batch of manufacturing, for example, I don't know, if one of our containers fall into the ocean, that can happen
Yeah.
any day. Yeah, so
Yeah. Sure.
yeah,
Things can go wrong.
or if there's another fire in Los Angeles and this time actually something happens to our warehouse, for example,
Yeah.
like things like that. Yeah, just in
Interesting.
case we're gonna need a lot of cash one day. Just let's have it right now. That was the plan basically.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah,
If you don't mind me asking, what's
sure.
the revenue multiple that you're aiming to keep here?
It's one times the month revenue right now.
Okay.
What we're
Yeah.
thinking of adding like it's basically let's say for a hypothetical company you have 10% OPEX. That is very reasonable, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. And
Mm-hmm.
that means you have like 10 months of runway, basically
Mm-hmm.
almost, with that kind of a money, which
Yeah.
is enough time to fix things actually.
Yeah.
So for us, we have this kind of a mathematics behind it, and
Mm-hmm.
1 month's revenue seems like the correct number now. Maybe we
Mm-hmm.
will increase this to 1.5 in the
Mm-hmm.
future.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, for 2025, all I want to do with this, apologies, all I want to do with this keep it at one times the monthly revenue, basically.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. A metric that I track on behalf of my CFO clients is cash in bank as a multiple of the SG&A, like indirect and overhead expenses. And
Yeah,
I usually
yeah,
like to recommend that they keep at least 3 months, which essentially means that if all of the operations were to grind to a halt and there was, zero gross profit and zero sales coming in, you could at least afford to pay for 3 months of overhead to keep the lights on
exactly.
and,
Yeah,
keep
that's the
people
logic
employed.
behind us as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. So, as you know, I'm also a bit of a numbers nerd as a finance guy, and I feel like we may have a couple of things in common here.
Sure.
But I'd love to know, from your perspective as a business owner and operator, what are some of your favorite business KPIs and metrics that you like to follow?
Oh
How
yeah.
often do you track them, and why?
Sure. One of the things that I love is ANCAC, new customer acquisition cost. It's
Mm-hmm.
something I look into like nearly every day.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, with that comes ROAS and
Mm-hmm.
number of new customers. So my focus is not really. I'm also focused on retention side of things as well. But
Mm-hmm.
new customer acquisition is what keeps a company alive, and especially
Yeah.
with us, because you don't go and buy furniture every month. right? That's something you
Sure.
buy, and then for maybe a year you don't buy it again.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to have this pavilion of customers that are like new customers coming in every time.
Mm.
So we have to keep our
Hmm.
margins there, like we have to keep our eyes there basically. And since we have a lot of products with different price levels, we have products that are $60 and that are $2,000 and $4,000. So
Right.
they have to have their own customer acquisition costs
Hmm.
because like they're very different customer profiles, very different
Mm.
people, very different house profiles, very
Sure.
different personas. So yeah,
Hmm.
those are the metrics that I'm keeping track of in general. Of course, along with revenue and like cash available at the bank that day.
Hmm. Hmm.
I guess yeah, I guess that's about it really.
Okay. Okay. So new customer acquisition costs, interesting metric. And you made a interesting point just now about how the price of these products varies a lot from
Yeah,
6,000 up to, 3 or 4,000. Obviously, there's a very big difference in the profit that you're going to make with a $60 sale versus a $4,000 sale.
sure.
And therefore, the CAC that you can afford to pay is going to vary quite a lot as well. Uh, I'm curious how the product portfolio may have been evolving over time, and has that had some impact on AOV over time? And if AOV is changing, how do you kind of track or monitor the justifiable changes in new customer acquisition costs?
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good question actually. I just had a meeting about this nearly all day today about new
Okay.
products and like how with 2026 it's gonna look like. So at first the one of the like most common advices in ecom is to increase your AOV, try to increase your AOV.
Hmm.
But that oftentimes means you're gonna increase your customer acquisition cost as well.
Right.
Because you're probably advertising on Meta, and Meta knows more about your business, probably more than you do, because they get access to all of your competitors' ad data,
Mm.
Shopify data, and they have systems that probably read this and like they allocate a certain ROAS number to you, etc.,
Hmm.
etc. So we first try to increase our AOV just like everybody else, and we've done a good job at this. But now we're trying to have a variety of items that are like that we call introduction to the brand, that are smaller,
Hmm.
easier to make, easier to purchase items with lower AOVs. That is like an introduction to our brand to the customer, so that now after buying that they come back for something more expensive or like
Hmm.
I don't know, with a higher AOV basically. With B2B clients especially, they typically prefer higher AOV items, like more expensive marble items or more of the full length mirrors that we have, and oversized items that we have as well, or made to order items as well. Because they can afford to wait 6 or 8 weeks sometimes for an item, because there's a lot of construction and things going on at the same time as well. And same goes for our hotel and restaurant kind of clients as well, that are also B2B, but not just like buying for a house for a client. So different customer portfolios have different preferences here, and we try
Hmm.
to have use advantages of both of them basically in the same place.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay. Interesting. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. You guys have done a remarkable job of bootstrapping this business. I really respect the focus on cash flow, and you seem incredibly well versed in the numbers and understanding kind of what makes a business tick. For people who are listening who would like to learn a little bit more about you and maybe check out the business, is there anywhere specific that you would like them to go?
absolutely. They can go to my LinkedIn page and add me there, or they can just go to our website ethnicliving.com.
Hmm. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Well,
and
I'll
just read
include
about us there. Yeah,
perfect. I'll include links to both of them below, so no need to give us a spelling. But yeah, Mehmet, thank you again for joining me on the show today. I've really enjoyed the conversation and learned a lot from chatting with you, and wishing you the best of luck in the future,
thank you very
and hope
much.
all your 2026 plans that I no doubt you've you've figured out very, very meticulously. I hope they all come true, and
Thank you very
here's
much,
to your
Nate.
continued success. Take
Thank
care.
you very much. Thanks for having me. Bye bye.